Hey friends, welcome back to another video. Right now, here in 2020, I know a lot of actors are worried about finances, and rightfully so. This is a scary time. This is a time where a lot of people don't know what our industry is going to be in the next year. And even though a lot of us are actively working towards getting ready for the 2021 audition season, I know a lot of actors are still concerned about their finances. So what I wanted to do today is talk about kind of the 5 mistakes that I see actors make with their finances, and then give you some ideas on how you can better prepare for the future when it comes to how you handle your money. I know this video may not be overly exciting. It's not one of the fun, flashy videos, but I think it's a really important video. I want to make sure I do it justice. But first, I need coffee. I do want to start off and preface this video by saying I am not a financial planner, I'm not a financial advisor, I am an actor's coach. And I know a lot of actors worry and stress about money. So if we can give you some control systems that you can put in place, hopefully that will allow you to focus on other components of your acting career. That leads me to the first mistake that I see a lot of actors make. They don't treat their acting career as if it's a small business. I spend a lot of time talking with actors about their finances, whether that's in private coaching sessions or in our actors networking group, The Green Room. And one of the questions that I like to throw out to them is, I get paid to coach. I do hour sessions with clients and they pay me for those sessions. The question that I ask is, am I working if I'm not in a coaching session? And the answer to that is usually very obvious to them. They will say, yeah, because you're planning for sessions, you are doing the social media, you're recording videos for the YouTube channel, you're creating resources for us, you're finding us rep, you're connecting us with agents, you're doing all of that other stuff that you can't be doing during a session. So why do you only see that you're working when you are under contract? This is a really important thing that I think a lot of actors need to change their mindset on. As an actor, you are working a regular job. You are working 9 to 5 or whatever hours you end up working every day, whether you are on stage or in a rehearsal room or not. I'm not just saying the whole cliche of it's an actor's job to audition. That's not what I mean. I'm saying as an actor, you run your own business. You have to do all the logistical things that it takes to run a small business. And if we get in the mindset that we are only a working actor, if we are doing those things when we're on stage or when we are in a rehearsal room, we are going to kind of manage our money that way, rather than actually thinking of those as contracted things that our business does. So if you treat your time on stage in the rehearsal room like how I treat a coaching session, you are still going to have all of the administrative things that you're going to have to do, which means you are going to have to pay yourself to do all of those things. You are going to have to pay yourself to do things like writing in your audition journal, sending out self-tapes, updating your Backstage.com profile. You're going to have to pay yourself to be learning new repertoire. You're going to have to pay yourself to write the thank you cards to casting directors after an audition or a callback. Those things are still part of your job and you need to pay yourself accordingly. It is so important to change your mindset that you are not just a working actor when you are on stage or in the rehearsal room. Mistake number 2 is that a lot of actors don't know where their money is going. This is very, very common. This happens for a lot of people because unfortunately in school, we are not always taught to keep track of our finances. We are not business majors. We are acting majors. This is not something that we are taught. As a result, a lot of us don't know how to do these simple financial tracking things. These are not deemed as priorities in our training programs. That's a problem and we need to fix it. So I'm going to do my best to help you with it here. When you run a small business, one of the things that you do typically on a monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis is creating what's called a profit and loss statement. This is sometimes referred to as a P&L. What's super important about this is the profit and loss statement tracks how much money came in and your expenses, but it tracks your expenses in different categories of your business. This is really helpful because it allows you to see where you're spending all of your money. If you know your rent and you know your utilities and you know your membership dues or your subscriptions and all of that stuff, and you go through and figure out all of those things, I bet you will be able to find things that you can cut. By going through and creating this profit and loss statement really as an exercise, it allows you to see where you are spending a lot of money, but it also allows you to figure out your budget. It allows you to see how much money you realistically are going to need for different categories of your acting business. Mistake number 3 that I see a lot of actors make is actually connected to the previous one. Keeping track of your finances is really, really important. You have to know where your money's going, but a lot of actors don't really have the resources to look at where their money's going because they don't save receipts. I know when it comes to taxes, a lot of people say, if an item is less than $75, you don't need the receipt for it. That's not what I'm talking about here. Please don't use that as a mindset because I bet you the majority of the things you are buying as an actor cost less than $75. If you are buying new printer ink, if you are buying printer paper, let's say you take an industry colleague out for coffee. Let's say you're buying books on acting, or you're buying new sheet music, or you buy a new script. All of these things are probably going to add up to less than $75, but they are all business expenses that you need to keep track of. If you're really trying to figure out where your money's going, make sure that you keep every single receipt. This is where you're going to be able to see how you can adjust your funds and will allow you to better understand where your money's going. If heaven forbid something like the pandemic ever happens again, you'll at least be able to know what areas you are spending excess money in and that you can kind of trim from some of those areas and still keep your business afloat. Mistake number 4. Actors don't always understand their budget. We go through and we figure out how much we have to spend on different things. And we go through, well, I don't really need that. And I don't really need that. I could get by with this. I could buy groceries for X amount. I could get by without this subscription. That's not how you figure out a budget, and especially not how you figure out a small business budget. If you've gone through and figured out your budget, what I would suggest to do is go through and look at it and ask yourself, is this everything that my business really needs to keep operational? If you have a monthly budget and you've kind of cut everything down to a very, very tiny margin, you have no room for error. What happens if you run out of headshots and you need to order more? Or even worse, let's say you accidentally spill coffee on your entire stack of headshots and you need to order more. If you didn't factor in a buffer pool of money and things are really tight, you aren't going to be able to find a way to get those new headshots printed without cutting that money from other areas of your budget. Another thing that I see a lot of actors forget to do with their budget is they look at things like health insurance or renter's insurance and they try to go with what they can afford right now. And so they will see things and go, well, this is a really, really low payment, so I'll go with that option, even though the deductible or the out-of-pocket cost is crazy, crazy high. But here's the deal. If you go through and you're factoring all of those things in to your budget and trying to figure out what you can afford every single month, what happens in an emergency situation if you have to pay that out of pocket all at once. A lot of young actors, for the most part, are pretty healthy. So you're probably going to be looking at an emergency situation and you're going to have to pay through the nose all at once. Even though the monthly payment is really, really low, your out of pocket or your deductible are probably going to be really, really high, and you're going to have to meet all of that before the insurance kicks in. As you're going through factoring out these things, examine those and figure out what's going to be kind of the median that you can afford. If you're trying to figure out your budget both as an actor but also just in your everyday life, you're going to want to factor in some wiggle room so that you aren't, again, riding your budget with such small margins that you might actually have to sacrifice other areas of your budget to afford some of these necessity things that you might need. Mistake number 5 that I see a lot of actors make: they don't pay themselves. A lot of times as actors, we get paid in what are referred to as windfall payments. We get all of our money from a gig all at once. If you get paid $5,000 from a time on set, you get all of that $5,000 all at once. Then your brain goes, I have $5,000, except you really don't have $5,000. You have to let that $5,000 last you until your next gig. So what I tell a lot of actors to do is to set up 2 separate checking accounts. One for your personal money, which you probably already have. It's probably linked to your credit card. And the second is to set up a business checking account. This doesn't actually have to be a business checking account. Talk to your personal banker and see what is the right option for you, but try to have 2 separate accounts. What then happens is once you get paid that $5,000, that $5,000 goes into the one that you are using for Actor Inc. From there, you decide how much you have to pay yourself to meet your expenses every month. Give yourself a salary. That salary should not be $5,000. That should be a consistent salary that you can pay yourself every month based off of what you know your expenses are that you figured out from your budget and what is coming from your consistent income. If you pay yourself the same amount every single month, you are going to have that business account that's going to be able to pay you over the long term, and you aren't going to have to function on this feast or famine mindset. That feast or famine mindset works against you not only in your personal finances, but also when you go into the audition, because you freak out going, oh my gosh, I need to book this thing because otherwise I'm not going to have money to eat. And if I don't have money to eat, I'm going to lose weight, and then I'm going to become super skinny. And then if I become super skinny, they're not going to want to cast me, and I'll never work again. And then I'll have to live out of a cardboard box down by the river. I have seen actors do that freak out spiral so many times. That right there is why we put so much pressure on the auditions. Whereas if you know you're going to get a consistent salary, you know you have your income coming in, so it'll take some of the pressure off. This will change the way you approach auditioning and will give you more financial stability for the long term. Look, I know money is hard. I truly do believe that many of our educational systems have failed us when it comes to preparing us for these finances. I am not great at it myself. I know when I was working primarily as an actor, this was an area that was always causing me tons of concern. I really want every single actor to be in a place where they feel they know where their money is and that they're making smart decisions about their money. If at any point you need help trying to figure out some of these things, or you feel that you're in a scary place with your finances and you need to try to get things worked around, please reach out to someone. Reach out to someone who can help you get your finances back on track. Again, I am not a financial planner. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an accountant. I don't do any of those things. But if you need someone to talk to that can at least give you a place to start, to find those resources, to figure those things out, I would be more than willing to sit down with you in a session and talk through those things. As I've said in other videos, here at Stage Door Unlocked, we don't just teach you how to act, We teach you how to be an actor, and managing your finances and running your career like a small business is part of being an actor. As always, actors, you're awesome, be awesome, and I'll see you next time.